Hello, welcome to DNS Live Wednesday night. If you guys are coming over from joining us from Z Talk Radio, we're just kind of continuing a little chit chat here with our friends over at Scare Paranormal. We were talking to Blaine and Kim, and we've got Blaine on right now. We're trying to get Kim. We'll see if it works. You guys know how live works. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. So, Blaine, welcome to my show.
What's up, y'all?
We actually get to see each other now. We've been on the radio for 2 hours. Now we'll actually get to see facial expressions and whatever spirits are coming on in the houses now.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
Deegan kicks back while we're on the TV show.
Hey, Deegan, I don't blame you, brother. Sit back and kick back and chill. If I'd have had a cold beer, I'd have been drinking a cold beer right now, but I ain't got none. So.
No beer, none of those kind of spirits. None of those kind of spirits. Well, you guys in the chat room, as we get chit-chatting here, we're probably going to, I don't know, continue some more conversation what we were talking about earlier. But if you guys have some questions for Blaine or for Kim, put them out there in the chat room, and I'll catch them, and we'll go from there. All right, Blaine, well, you know what? You got to have us introduce ourselves to you, so I think you need to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Oh, that's easy. My name is Blaine Rohan. I'm an empath medium. I hear and see spirits. I have for the last 47 years. I have been an investigator for the last 27 years. My first investigation I ever did was I was in the Air Force in California, and we had just watched Helter Skelter, the Charles Manson story, and we found out where Sharon Tate's house was. Well, what was left of Sharon Tate's house. Actually, there was no house left anymore. It was just the lot. But now some other guys built onto the lot, on Sharon Tate's lot, and the lot that was next door to it. And first investigation we did there, we had an old Polaroid camera, one of those old cassette recorders, and a flashlight. And we were out there. We never stepped foot on the property. We stayed right on the street, right on the curb. And a security guard that roams the neighborhood came through there. And he's like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" I said, I'm trying to remember the words, because it wasn't even called paranormal investigation. I think it said we're trying to see if ghosts are here or something to that effect. And the guy's eyes got like big as saucers, and he was like, "Have you caught anything yet? I get off in about 40 minutes. You guys don't leave. When I get off my shift, I'm going to come back with you." And he ended up coming back.
Oh, my gosh. So had he had experiences?
You know, I asked him that, too. He says, "You know, this lot has always creeped me out when I do my rounds through here." And I said, "Well, what have you seen here?" He says, "I don't know if I'm crazy or not, but I think I seen a lady running out screaming out in the middle of the street one day, and just stopped, and then she was gone." And I think it sort of got his attention, and he found out what we were doing, and we were playing with that old cassette recorder, and I asked how many spirits or how many entities were at that location, and they named off 9, and that's how many people were actually killed on that property.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And we got Jay Sebring, who was a hairdresser. I asked him, I said, "What did you do for a living?" And clear as bell on this old cassette recorder, it says, "I cut hair." So that was pretty interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then we asked Abigail Folger what her family owned. And it was so funny because she was like, "Coffee, silly." Yeah, her family was heir to the Folger coffee fortune.
Oh my gosh. You've got some really good EVPs.
Oh, I get the best EVPs. And I'll tell you a funny one your listeners might love. We're up at Gettysburg, and we're out in the middle of BF Egypt. Hey, there's Kim. Hey, Kim.
Kimmy! We'll get her.
She's dialing in now, but we're up there, and the week before we had been at Fort Delaware, and the group that I was in at the time we used to joke around and just make fun of each other and just cut up. And we were talking about some of the stuff that happened the week before for Delaware. And one of the ladies we have with us, this spirit kept calling her a witch. So we were just calling her Witch Hazel and making up names. And my friend Sharon, who was the leader of our team, and she was my co-host on another show I had called The Haunted Syndicate. And she just goes, well, how come you guys never pick on Blaine? And clear as a bell, on the ghost box said, because Blaine is royalty.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Oh, it gets better. Then the next week we're in Maryland, and my good friend Bill Bing was with us. We were at an event in Maryland, and the lady that used to run my fan page for the Haunted Syndicate, she found this old 1970s Burger King doll. And she had sewed on this thing on his shirt because Blaine is royalty. And that thing sent us with that event. And we had so much fun with that thing. People would come up to our table and were like, what's that doll for? Oh, that's our possessed doll. And they'd step away from the table. And then I'd tell them the story behind it and they'd start laughing. But yeah, we mess with a bunch of people.
That is funny. Well, Kim, we have you on. Can you hear us and see us okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
That's awesome. Yeah, we hear you perfectly.
Good.
This is the first time I've actually had two on the show at the same time, so this is awesome. I didn't know we could do this. Thank you, Eric. Eric rules. Eric rules. So, Kim,
Awesome.
tell us a little bit about you.
Oh gosh. Well, for a living, to make money, I have to have a real job. So I'm a software developer.
You don't make money doing this?
No, not really. I lose money on this.
Very much.
Yeah. So, and then I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. They're 9, 4, and 3. So I'm a busy lady, and I'm writing a book right now for the History Press called Haunted Shelby County. It's about the county where I live in Alabama. So it's just right outside of Birmingham.
Nice.
So, yeah, I've got that going on. And then in, my spare time, I kind of head up this group called Scare. And,
Spare time.
Yeah.
Spare time.
Yeah, that she has to put up with me too, so I'm on her teams as well.
Between the kids and Blaine, I don't know how you do it.
I don't either.
I like how you're off the camera now. See what I get to put up with?
I know, and I promised Sherry that I'd get you to talk, Diggins. So you got to talk with us tonight, man.
Mm-hmm.
I
Hey,
did.
he did good on the radio. Yeah, you did good on their show. Now you got to do on ours. I'm going to start making him a list of questions to start asking guests. I'm going to be like, okay, your turn. Your turn.
Hey, I've got a question. Some of our friends are asking how they can tune into the show right now.
If they go to www.paraencountersnetwork.com, it'll come right on up, and they'll be able to not only see the show, but underneath there's a chat room. And so they can interact with us on the chat room.
Okay, I'm going to let our friends know about that real quick. So
Yeah, throw it out.
tune.
I tried to tag the team with my post earlier, and I didn't have you on. I don't think I have you on my Facebook, do I, Kim? I could have
No,
tagged
you do not.
Yeah, and you would have had it. So we gotta fix that today. We gotta fix that tonight.
Yeah, because when we
Right,
do
so
our
Blaine-
show, I don't have nothing up, but the show in our chat room, so. Go
Yeah.
ahead,
Yeah, that's how we are. So, okay, for those that weren't listening on the radio show, I want you to go back and tell the funny about the wood stack.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Now, Kim knows about this story. We've said it several times on our show. There's an old mental hospital up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama called Bryce's. Well, next door to it, there is an old, what do you call it, Kim, like an old folks home?
Yeah, we just always thought it was a nursing home. I mean, it's built like a nursing home, so.
Now, at one time, I'd say about 9 or 10 years ago, they were going to rebuild it and, make it a convalescent home again. Well, they had a bunch of wood stacked up in the hall, and we had been over at the other hospital for probably about 10, 11 hours, and we had permission to go to the convalescent home and investigate there as well. So we walk in the place, there's like a stack of wood up against the wall, and there's like 10 of us there, and we go to sit down on this stack of wood, and it just crashes out from under us. Well, I got an EVP with this old man saying, "It ain't gonna hold you, dumbass." And then you hear the wood crash, and then you hear him just cackling like somebody just, struck his funny bone. And yeah, it was funny.
That's a crazy place. I love it. I've only been that one time that I went, but a friend of mine caught an EVP there of a guy singing, and he sounds crazy as a loon, just singing, something about "I've got shots for them" or something like that. So with it being so with it being an insane asylum, I'm sure they got plenty of shots.
So is it still active, or is it something that's just abandoned now?
I think it's been abandoned since the 70s or 80s. Like, it was used for a really long time. It was built back in the 1800s, and they just kept it open. And the story of it is not everybody that was put in there were crazy or insane. It was actually, if you were too poor, or a lot of times, like after slavery ended, the African Americans, they didn't have anywhere to go, so they would take them in for, and feed them. So
kind of like a county hospital, for lack of a better definition.
Yeah. And then there's this newer building next to it that served as a nursing home during, I guess, the 70s and 80s, but it's abandoned now too. And to me, it's more haunted than the actual insane asylum. We, when we were just walking the halls there, the doors would open like towards us, so we know it wasn't the wind that we were causing by walking towards the doors. Like, they would actually just open towards us, like something was waiting there for us, and just welcoming us. Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, do you think that because of the newer building being there, that maybe they thought it was a new playground and a new place to kind of hang out at, maybe?
Oh, yeah. But I know for a fact, too, the place that Bryce's was put on, the land there, there are some Indian mounds that aren't too far from there. And I know it had a very strong Native American presence there, because we were picking up at the hospital, we were picking up chanting and drums.
Wow.
And a whole bunch of stuff. So I know there's a strong Native American presence there, too.
Wow. See, and I think, I haven't really gotten into a lot of areas around here that are Native American, but some of what I've read and what I've seen, it does tie back to a lot of the chanting and the drums. And I would love to find a place around here for us to go that has tie back to Indian land, just to see, for myself, like we were talking about earlier, Dee and I are looking for that next step and that next experience, something beyond the EVPs and beyond being just touched. We either want something thrown at us, or we want to be able to really hear something,
Yep, you definitely get that. It's some of the places me and Kim have been in, like Fort Morgan down in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Yeah, we were watching shadow figures. Kim, that was one of the first times you saw them that clearly, wasn't it?
Yeah, like, how you see them out of the corner of your eye a lot, and you're like, what was that? This was like in front of my face. I was staring, like facing it directly, and it comes up out of the ground, runs, and then like disappears.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen like a black shadow figure in front of my face. And then too, later on that night, maybe it was just the sleep deprivation, because it was about 4 a.m. I was sitting in a windowsill overlooking the main walkway into and out of the fort, and you could just see people, like shadowy people, just marching. Some of them were walking faster, like they had some place or some errand they had to run, and they were just going back and forth, like for a long time. I just sat there watching it, and Blaine came and sat next to me too. He's like, "You still see him?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
That's awesome. awesome, though. I think the closest we've come was the cemetery that I was telling you guys about earlier, where Deegan had the experience with the little kids. We did see some shadow figures out there, but, you know, it was hard to tell being outside. Did you really see something run towards the trees, or was it just your eyes, you know, playing tricks on you? And I think when you're outside, it's hard to tell, but you guys were indoors and you're seeing this, and then you go outside and you're seeing it as well. So there's some validation there, where with us, it's kind of like, was that just a tree that moved?
Yeah.
You know, that validation.
We were at the old Shelby County Cemetery, and we were with a new group we had investigated with, we've become friends with now. And we're sitting there getting ready to go over to the Secret Squirrel Farm, but we stopped at the cemetery, and we're sitting there getting ready to leave, and I watched this shadow figure go into this gazebo, and the thing had to be at least 7 to 8 foot tall.
Wow.
Because when it goes up the gazebo, it goes up a hill, it's about 4 foot high. And then when he passed over the hill to the gazebo, I saw it, and our friend Tracy saw it too. And she was like, did you just see that? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool little trip that night. You know, Blaine tells me he hears stuff, feels stuff, and sees stuff all the time, and I don't see it, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, Blaine. Because, you know, I just don't
see it. You're like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, and then our friend validated it, you know, just to have someone else there saying, yeah, you know, Blaine's not just all, you know, hot air. He actually did see it too. And then another cool thing about that, huh?
I said, I've been in those shoes too, where you're kind of like, okay, did they really just see that or not? And then when you see it, it's like, what? Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what were you saying?
I was just going to say that also in that cemetery, there was one particular place that when our friend Tracy's brother walked past one particular grave, you know, something grabbed the back of his neck, and it told him, it whispered something in his ear. I think it was like, you know, look what you made me do, or look what I've done. And then, you know, when Blaine arrived, he had no knowledge of that. And the exact same grave he walked by, and the same thing happened. It grabbed the back of his neck. So that was a really creepy place.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a spirit in that place. You know, since I could hear them and see them, they were going after Kim, and they were saying stuff to Kim, about Kim, that they were going to do to her. And I'm like, no, not on my watch, you're not going to.
Wow.
And, yeah, I got to the point, and I'm usually not where I'll leave somewhere, but when it gets to a point where he's going to cause physical harm to one of my good friends, I told everybody that we ended up getting up leaving.
Yeah, that's the first time, the only time so far that Blaine's made us leave. And, you know, I'm like, fine, you know, I'll leave. I don't want any trouble. And he waited a day or two to tell me exactly why he made me leave. And I'm so thankful that he did, because I had like a 45-minute drive home all alone in the dark. So that would have
creeped you out.
Yeah.
Totally creeped you out.
Definitely.
So you guys were talking about, you've got something else coming up here soon. We were talking about on the radio that, you know, Deegan and I are kind of jealous about. So tell us kind of what you guys have coming up.
They're talking about the Secret Squirrel Campout, Kim.
Well, we have this little plantation. It's in Shelby County where I live, and I got to know this farmer named Mike, and he's a good friend of mine. And one day we got to talking about, you know, me doing some ghost hunting and having some adventures, and he said, "Oh, you should come check out my barn." And he said it's probably the oldest standing structure in Shelby County. And then he started telling me about this story about this man named Fox Rushing, who was a Shelby County settler, and he actually got lynched during the Civil War. And some of the people say that he actually got drugged from the home and hung in that barn on the property. And other people say it was in a tree down the road. But yeah, basically he was killed somewhere right there in the vicinity, you know, on that plantation. There's also an Indian burial mound on this place and a couple of cemeteries. We've gotten some great evidence there, and it's always so much fun when we go. So we've invited a bunch of teams that we know from around Alabama and other states too that Blaine knows to come for a camp out. We're going to spend the night there and just investigate and see what else we can stir up.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to let me know when you guys pull out the dowsing rods and Kim uses those. I want to kind of see some video.
How to use them. And I might even bring some stuff to make some, and people can make their own. They're very easy.
What do you make yours out of?
Coat hangers.
Yeah,
and
I've heard people say just
you buy it like Michael's.
Yep.
Take a pair of pliers and bend it over. Put the beads on it. Bend it over. Take it and bend it where it's got a 90 degree, and you do 2 of them like that. You got a set of dowsing rods. But some people like to.
We've got a pair that have like the post that they sit in, the copper post, and then I just recently got us some that actually have the beads on them. So we still haven't figured out which set we like the best yet. It seems like the ones that are already in their own holder rotate better than the ones with the beads, and I think at some point when you're holding them, you have to loosen up your grip a little bit for the beads to kind of let loose too.
Yep. What you do is get beads a little bit bigger than the actual rod itself. So.
I've heard some people talk about putting, doing them with a coat hanger, but then putting them inside of, taking like a big pin and taking the inside ink piece out and using the barrel for holding your rods. And I haven't seen that yet, but I've heard some people have done that.
Yeah, you can do them several different ways, but one of the funny stories about the farm about old Fox, and Kim loves it. I love this story too. Fox is actually buried up in the cemetery up on the top of the hill. But it's funny, he's buried right next to Mrs. Mays, whose husband owned the farm. But Mr. Mays is buried about 75 feet away. So we always wondered if old Fox and Miss Mays, had something going on there. A little sneaky going on.
So it sounds a little something.
Yeah, they did.
A little bumping uglies. Hey, Blaine. So I have a question for you, Blaine. For some reason, my chat room isn't working, and the Parafreak, which Parafreak, I got something I got to tell you later that Blaine told me you're going to love. Parafreak had a question for you, and her question is, what advice can you offer her or someone who might be green using their gift? Kind of what we were talking about earlier on your show with, some of the advice that I was giving. What kind of advice would you offer for someone who's kind of just really getting comfortable with their gift and starting out?
Well, one thing I always tell everybody that I help with is let your gifts flow. Do not force them, because the more you force them, your mind will stop letting your gifts happen. If you just let it flow and let it go natural and let it take its own natural course, because everything happens for a reason. But I would teach people how to ground themselves, which is a very simple technique I can show you right here. You take your fingers and you imagine that energy is coming from your fingers. And you will actually feel energy flow through your whole body, down to your toes, through your toes, back up through your fingers, and out. And it takes about 3 seconds, and all you got to do is think it. People with gifts too, I would teach them how to do protection on themselves. Whatever religion you are, use your religion. And if you have no religion, call upon white light or blue light. Now, blue light is more intense than white light is. White light is a nice healing, protective light, but blue light is an intense light. It is surrounding you like the boy in the plastic bubble. It doesn't let nothing go. And I would suggest every person that's a medium or sensitive or whatever they are, and people that even aren't, because everybody has some sort of gift. Now, they might not use their gifts, but they do have gifts. I would suggest when they get done with an investigation, take a hot bath with a little sea salt in it to cleanse the spirits around them, off of them. Because you have, even if you didn't bring anything home with you, you still have remnants of that spirit's energy with you. Because energy has always been here, it will always be here, and it will always be. So even if you are not in direct contact with that spirit anymore, you still have some essence of their energy still around you. And I would, tell people to take the sea salt baths. And you don't need much sea salt, just a little bit sprinkled in your hand, put it in hot bath water with you.
So just a little.
Just a little bit of, just about what you're going to put on. Well, I don't know. Most people, put a lot more salt on food than I do, but I don't eat any salt. So unless it's sea salt, I won't eat regular salt. But that's just been me forever. But like I said, let their gifts flow. Let them come naturally to them. Talk to your ancestors. Talk to your spirit guides. Everybody has them. Christian faith might call them guardian angels, but you do have them. But your ancestors are going to be your ancestors regardless, and they do come around in visitation. Like you guys got prime example. Your dad's there and his sister's there at your house.
Mm-hmm.
And
we've got some strong guardian angels,
and that's awesome. And
here's a question. Here's kind of a question for you while you're still on that thought. So, I've had some people tell me one way or another about this, that I used to start off wearing a St. Michael's pendant, and I'm not Catholic, I'm Lutheran, but I used to start off wearing a St. Michael's pendant when I first started investigating. And after that, I thought, you know what, I don't know how much of my faith is actually in that, since I don't practice Catholicism, I'm a Lutheran. So I quit wearing it. And then last year, I bought us some crosses, and I actually had Crystal bless them, and we started wearing them. So here's been kind of the back and forth debate on this. Some people think that when you're wearing something that's been blessed, and my St. Michael pendant had been blessed by the Pope, that because of that, you're not going to get as much interaction because the spirit sense that there's that protection. And some people think that you should go without them and open yourself up to have more interaction. What are your thoughts on that?
No, actually, those are great for protection, because I like stones. I love crystals, and I love the energy from them. But spirit wants to come around you. They're going to come around you regardless of what protection you have on you. If it's a lot of it's all in your mind. Okay, if you think you're protected because, Dominus Omnis, the Pope blessed it, or a Native American shaman blessed it for you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it has to do with your mindset. If you believe that's going to protect you, that's what's going to protect you. If you don't believe that's not going to protect you, it's not. And I know a lot of people like that too, that don't want any kind of protection. They think it keeps the spirits away.
Yeah.
I am like way, way protected, and I have more spirits come around me than I can count. So.
Interesting. So now let me ask you this, since you brought up crystals, because I just started kind of dabbling and really kind of learning about it. I've got, and I don't know how much you've kept up with me lately, but I've got, and it's packed away or else I'd bring it out, but I have a pendulum. And, I mentioned to you about us going to the jail and Deegan holding the keys and us kind of using it as a pendulum without really intending. It just kind of happened. So I kind of got interested in the pendulum. And the very first one that I had built for me, I had I think it was just a regular quartz crystal for the pendant built with it. But it didn't seem to flow and work as well, so I just ordered one offline. And it's got more of a silver pendant to it. And so I've been doing some research and some reading on crystals and so forth, and I think I kind of want to go get maybe a rose quartz or a clear crystal to use on my pendulum. But I don't know enough about crystals yet to really know if that's the direction I need to go in. So what can you kind of point me in on that? Did I lose you? Blaine? Blaine has spirits at his house that like to play with his technical stuff over there. I can see him. Kim, can you hear me okay?
I can still hear you, yeah. I heard that whole question there.
It's the spirits over at Blaine's house. I can tell by looking at his face.
Yeah. He's like, what is going on?
Do you dabble anything with crystals or anything like Blaine does?
Yeah, actually, I used to, when I was a kid, oddly enough, I had a neighbor that was really into it, and so I kind of picked up from her a little bit about the quartz crystals. So I have known about that since I was probably 12 or 13 years old. But recently just only really got back into it because of Blaine and his pendulum that he used one night at an investigation. He was showing us some stuff with it. So like you, I went online and ordered myself one. And then I had to order one for my kids because they kept stealing mine. They absolutely love it. You know, kids are drawn to the energy of it, and they just can't leave it alone. So my kids have some different things, and Blaine's given my oldest son kind of a token that is meant for protection, and that really meant a lot to him. And of course, it meant a lot to me too, because you know my oldest son was seeing spirits and hearing them, and he was frightened. So you know that helped him sleep well at night to have that.
Had that protection there.
Mm-hmm.
That was, y'all, I completely lost sound. Everything. I could see you guys, and I could hear you there for a second, and then everything I had just went wonky.
I could see you struggling, so I knew it was spirits or something over there. I think you need to tell them to behave.
Believe me, I said a few choice words when I knew I'd lost sound.
Sherry, can I offer you a suggestion? Uh-oh, did I lose Sherry?
Yeah, I think you got me now, Eric.
No, I got Kim too.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hold on, let me call her back.
Yeah, she's been having a lot of Skype issues tonight. Her spirits are messing with her as bad as mine are.
She's had some modem issues, I think. You there, Sherry?
Yeah, and you know what's so funny? I could hear y'all's whole conversation, but you couldn't hear me.
That's the way it was for me.
I don't want to. I just want to throw this in there real quick because I have one. You were talking about wanting to dabble with the pendulum, and you didn't. You weren't talking about buying a specific type.
Yeah.
Let me give you another way you can look at this. I actually have what's called a witness chamber pendulum.
What is that?
Basically, it's a pretty cool little thing. It's a teardrop-shaped pendulum that you can unscrew the bottom part of, and there's an empty cavity. You can actually place small bits of crystal or whatever inside.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know what he's talking about.
That gives you the ability to try things without having to commit to buying a $30 or $40 pendulum because it's made out of rose quartz or whatever.
Yeah, because that's, I mean, my pendulum, it's over here in the box, but it has that hook on it, and then I can screw in that one silver tip, but then I've got the one that's on the chain that has the clear crystal on it that broke. So I've been looking just for something different, because when I go on investigations, and Kim, I don't know how your pendulum is, or Blaine, how yours is, but the bottom of mine has the capability to have sand put in it. And so we try to use that to make sure we've got some kind of base, or you know, if something's communicated through it, it'll actually move through the sand and we can see it. So the thought was, well, maybe it's just too heavy for them to push, that if we did use something that was like a crystal or a quartz, it would make it easier. So I'm trying to figure out what's going to be the best thing that's going to work for me when we go out on investigations, and kind of using my energy type to it.
I would tell you what to do when you go look for pendulums. Let it pick you. You will know that's your pendulum, just like any stone. The energy will feel so good that you go, that's mine.
So I'll kind of be drawn to it.
You will. And
so
it's
I need
weird.
to find a real store.
Yes, you do. You need to find a nice metaphysical store. I know several of them online that I personally know the people, and I've got some stuff from them. I have listeners send me gifts all the time, so it's cool because they know I love crystals and stuff like that. And I always, a lot of times somebody will give me something, and I know it is for me at that time. But I'll see Kim and her kids, and I'll go, okay, these aren't mine no more. This is for your little girl. This is for your little boy. This is for you. And I always know when to give them up.
That's awesome. Okay, then I'm going to do that. I know there's one not too far from me. Kind of a smaller metaphysical shop. So I'll go there. I just, when you get into something like this, you want to do the research on it and get the right thing. And that's why I started looking at, the different properties of different crystals. And, do I want to go based on something that's strong, something that's not? So now that you've told me that, I think I'm going to have more fun walking in the store and just waiting to be drawn to something now.
Yeah. And you know what's so cool when you get your crystal and you get your pendulum with it? Do you know you can do energy healing on yourself with your pendulum?
Oh, really? Now, I'd heard about that, but I didn't know you could do it on yourself.
Oh, yes, you can. It is called Reiki. It is this, all it is. Reiki, all it means is the study of energy. And like I told you before, energy is everywhere. It's always been. It always will be. Now, what you can do with the pendulum, I've done it on a few people to do Reiki treatments. I'm real good with my hands doing them, but I can do them with pendulums as well. You'll take the pendulum, and you start out over your hand, and just hold the pendulum over your hand. And you'll see it at first, it starts making like oblong circles. Then it starts getting further and further out. Then the circle gets tighter and tighter. And you can actually feel the energy from the pendulum going into the person's hand. Wow. You can feel it come back through them, through the pendulum, through your hands. It is the coolest feeling in the world.
Okay, see, now I got to go do something this weekend and go find me a pendulum and a crystal. I think I got to get out and do that now. That's awesome. Awesome. I have a question for you from the chat room. You ready?
Sure.
The question is, have any of your voice box sessions or spirit communications ever given you any insights into your own past, former lives, etc.?
Actually, yes. I had done with a good friend of mine down in Florida a 7.5 hour past life regression. And the next night we investigated together, and one of the lives that I know, I have been a soldier in probably at least 12 of my 20 lives I've had that I know of.
Wow.
And I actually got the same confirmation from my friend who did the past life regression on me. Was a soldier in the Roman army who was a captain, and his name was Leviacus. And that name actually came through on a ghost box session the next night.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. I've never...
Go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I was going to say, I've never had anything about a past life come through on a ghost box session, but I'll tell you something really interesting real quick is a friend of mine on Facebook gave me a past life reading, and she told me that my brother, who I was kind of asking her about because he passed away in this life at a young age, I was asking about him, and she said that he had been a soldier in the Civil War, and he had been wounded in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Well, I really didn't give much thought to it, because how am I going to validate that? Or, I don't even know his name. But during research for my book, one of the places that I was investigating and getting to know the owners of was an old Civil War hospital. And all of the wounded from Vicksburg were moved to this hospital. And the ones that died, like supposedly my brother in this past life had died, were buried in the Civil War cemetery that I had already been to and investigated. So that really blew my mind, thinking that, there's a possible past life link for me there, at that cemetery and at that house. That
is very cool. I don't think I've ever, I don't think I've really thought about it or given it a second thought. But there's people out there that will do past life readings.
Yeah, I can do those, but it's weird how I do them. If you ask me to do them, I can't do one. But
that's weird.
I at least not yet. But if I'm just sitting there thinking about it, and people start talking about past lives, I'll start picking up all kind of weird stuff, like your lives and his life, but it's weird. Another thing, I can't pick up on my own past lives. I know I've had them, but a lot of them I can't pick up on, and I think that's just part of being what I am and who I am. Is I can tell you everything you need to know about yourself. Myself, I can't tell. Yeah, so. Kim, I thought you'd fell out of your chair.
Well, I think that's true for a lot of people. Regardless if you put on any round. We're readjusting over there or what?
Yeah, I had to go plug in my laptop. I saw that I had like 0 battery left, and I was like, oh no, I'm about to be cut off.
I know, you got up pretty quick. I was like, okay. Maybe or something like that. Hey, Blaine, so I want to go back to something we talked about when we were on the radio show, and before Kim got on, and it kind of has to go back with my house. I've got Freak in the chat room, and so I don't know if you can type it in the chat room or send me a text, but if you weren't listening earlier, we were talking about cleansing my house from and how Crystal and I couldn't pick up on a name, and I don't know, I'm kind of thrilled that we actually have a name for him now. So let's go back and talk about that a little bit, just to kind of bring Freak up to date on what we found out, because and kind of bring everybody else up to speed. I've got 4 spirits in my house. I did have 5, and when I moved in, I kind of had some creepiness in my house and didn't really know what it was about. And it was years before I got into investigating. And after I got into investigating, there was always this one area of the house, the attic leading into the master bedroom, that I just avoided. And we got to the point where we found out that there was a spirit in that attic that we nicknamed Crotchety. Didn't really know much about him, but, some people had told us some things about, he might have been a previous owner of my house, that there was something tied to a fire and all of that. And I see Freak in the chat room, so I'm sure, Freak, you remember us going through all of this and having these conversations. So, Blaine, I want you to tell her Crotchety's name, because we now have a name for him, Freak.
His name was Walter. And
tell her the best part about some of the history that we kind of figured out on it, too.
One of the things that I picked up strongly on Walter was on the property. He didn't own the property, but he wanted to. And where her house sits now, I would almost say it was almost like where your backyard ends, mm-hmm. where the log cabin was. And it was there in the 1830s, 1840s. And Walter wanted that piece of property for himself, and he didn't think anybody was at the cabin, and he set the cabin on fire, and he didn't realize anybody was in there, but the wife and 3 kids were in. Farmer was doing what farmers do. He's probably out, plowing a field somewhere. But he burnt the house down and killed the mother with 3 kids, and he was grounded to that property for what he did. And Sherry said that you guys had him removed, and I'm glad you had him removed, because he was a nasty character.
He was very, very nasty. Deacon's asking me something here about it.
No, during a dowsing rod session with him, we had found out that his wife was here with him too. So, I mean, was she a part of that whole conspiracy, or what?
No, she was not a part of it. She didn't even know about it. She knew about the fire after the fact, but didn't know that her husband, Walter, had set the fire.
Yeah, because it seemed like when he started picking up more activity, she came in, that we started picking up on her being here, and we couldn't figure out why she was here.
You know why? As a loving wife, she stayed with him. She could have crossed a long time ago, but stayed with her husband. So,
wow, that would explain it. That would
Yeah.
explain it. I'd be curious to see who we end up finding out that perfume belonged to. Because, I mean, that was our first thought, was that she was back. Because she only came in for a very little bit. I mean, we saw a lot more of him and felt a lot more of him. Sorry. Than we did of her.
yeah.
So, and it, like I told you, as soon as we did it, and you know, Crystal can attest to it, as soon as we did it, everything in the house just seemed so much lighter and so much more positive and happier.
Yeah, he
But I'm
had a
glad
very,
that now it came for him.
yeah, he had a very nasty disposition, and like I said, even though he is gone, part of his energy is still there. It will always be there. You'll never get rid of his complete essence of that house, but you got rid of the worst part of it,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah. And we can deal with the rest. I mean, all the other spirits are, you know, either my dad or Deegan's sister, you know, it's more family related. And then we've got, you know, the jovial Adolphus and Edward.
Well, what about, you know, the interview with the guy from Terror or Unknown? He told us that even though you get rid of the spirit, they lay dormant outside your house, waiting for you to invite them back in, either through thought or, you know, actually welcome them back in.
Did you hear that?
yeah. When I actually remove a spirit, I take 90% of him away or her, and they don't come back. I can't never get rid of the energy that they imprinted on that house, but I can get rid of the negative side, the angry side, and the pissed off side of them.
Gotcha.
is
Well, and
that
you
like
said it's a thing here. Do what, Kim?
is that like a residual, Blaine? When someone has a residual haunting, would that be the same type of thing?
No, residual is more like a tape recorder. It just keeps doing the same thing over and over and over again. And they're not even cognizant of you there. They're not cognizant, basically, of themselves there. It's just them doing the same thing. It's like a tape recorder just stuck on rewind.
Like you playing.
Replay.
Okay. So
that is.
that's different than a spirit's essence.
Yeah, a spirit's essence is basically just part of that energy that person had or that spirit had. Any place you ever been to, you leave part of yourself there.
Mm-hmm. You make an imprint.
Yeah, you sure do.
So, Blaine, Crystal's telling me that she's picking up that Walter's last name might start with an R.
She is very correct. It was Walter Rawlings.
You know, that's interesting that you said that, because Rawlings and Crystal Crystal and I had this exercise last weekend that she's been putting me through with where I kind of sit and meditate on a subject, and it was her last weekend, about what came to mind to me about her, and kind of working on my gift. And it's funny because Rawlings has been a name that has popped in my head in my house before, and I never really thought about it. I mean, to me, it's kind of, they're like a sports, like a football or something. I used to work for the Cowboys, so I would attribute it to that. I would have never attributed it to crotchety in his last name. So now it's kind of, it's coming full circle for me now, working on a lot of this, and it's starting to really set home with me now. I really need to start focusing more in on my gift and paying attention to that kind of stuff.
And listen, and most people don't even
Baseball,
realize
yes,
it.
baseball.
Yep,
Do what?
footballs and baseballs and gloves and all kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was a very popular name though that came over from I believe it was either England or Scotland that the name originates from. But one of the things you can do that I tell a lot of people is listen to that little voice in your head. Pay attention to your dreams. Hey, I mean, your spirit guides come to you in weird ways. There'll be that little voice that just pops in your head, or that little you'll hear the little whisper in your ear, or a thought will just pop in your head, or you'll have this real vivid dream that you're going, what the hell was that about? But they give you little messages in there. And sometimes it's easy to decipher, and other times you're going, what the hell were they thinking there?
Yeah, yeah. And, and that's kind of what I've had all my life. And a lot of it has been more of deja vu experiences that I've had. And I've had kind of that feeling of being in a place before, but not really having a dream about it. Just kind of, okay, I've been here before, and I could actually predict the conversation I was going to have with a stranger I was going to run into around the corner. And never really thought much about it because, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But since I've gotten more into the paranormal field, it's starting to come to me that, okay, there's something more there that I need to start working on and developing. And so, Crystal started working on hers, and, the last, 2 years, I think, Crystal, we've been working together. And in the last year, I've been like, okay, I want to sit down and I want to focus on this. What can I do to start focusing more? And that's when, I've kind of put my mind to it that, yeah, I do have this gift. Everybody has one. You just have to figure out what it is, and I think that's what mine is. And that's what I'm going to, point towards and fine tune on and try to find more people that have it to say, what's your advice to me? How did you start off? That type of thing.
Yeah. And always, that little voice in your head, that thought that pops in your head, always listen to it because it's always right. You might not think so at the time, but believe me, when they give you something, it is for a reason. And the day you doubt those is when they get a little pissed when you doubt them. And they will let you know it, one way or another. So, if my spirit guide, Janawa, she's a 600-year-old native Cherokee medicine woman. And I've disagreed with her one time. And now, never again. She got me good. She let a spirit come after me, and I got faced with it, just about 4 inches from concrete. Yeah, if she told me right now to just go jump off a bridge, I would ask.
So how did you?
When do you want me there?
Jerry, did we lose you?
I don't know. Me and Kim are still here. She's there. She froze.
She's frozen in time.
There she goes. We'll call her back. It'll call her back.
You just gotta love live radio. That's all I can say.
This is TV.
Yeah, well,
there she is now.
The Diva's back. So my question, Blake, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So my question was, how do you know who your spirit guide is? How do you figure that out?
Mine, I figured out at an early age, probably about 5 or 6. I had seen her, since I was remember. I got to the point where I finally asked her, and she's a real Native American voice. Her name was Jan. And all you gotta do is ask. They're ready to tell you their name. They'll tell you.
See, I got a whole another world to delve into now.
Believe me, it just gets more and more and more. And I call them upgrades. But another thing I always tell people too is whatever gifts you have and whatever gifts you will get, embellish them, cherish them, because even though you didn't have a choice in those gifts, they were given to you for a reason. So embellish them, cherish them, love them.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to working with mine more, and I think Deegan has a little bit more too to develop that he's probably coming into as well. And I think once we've gotten those a little bit more fine-tuned, I think we're going to start seeing some of those experiences that we want to see. And I think doing the old school method of things, I think we're being drawn to do the old school method of things for a reason, and not so much of the technical side of things. And I think down that path, we're going to find, a little bit of intuition getting stronger.
One of the things I would highly recommend for both of you, when you get your pendulum, I want you to take your pendulum above your forehead and above his forehead. Let it spin to open that third eye up.
Okay.
You'll be surprised the things that you will get once you open that third eye.
Now, do you think that we should do, my pendulum has how do you say it? It's got a metal hanger on it, and the one that I had before that had a chain. Is there any trick, any advice or anything as to the chain that actually holds the pendulum or the crystal?
No. Whatever you feel comfortable with. If you just want a string, I've made a pendulum out of a string before, and it works. You can use a chain, you can use brass, you can use gold, you can use silver, you can use platinum, you can use tin.
It's more in the crystal itself, the pendulum itself.
Exactly.
And can't you use it to open your chakras too?
Yes.
See what I bet.
Yep. And what I'm talking about with the Reiki, you have 7 chakras in your body. You open your chakras up. What it does, it flows all the negative energy you've had pent up in your body your whole life. It flows it back with positive energy. Once you flow that positive energy, your gifts will just go by leaps and bounds. Because your body is actually fighting against itself with all that pent up negative energy. You release that negative energy and flow positive energy through your body. You would be surprised. You hear stuff better. You see stuff better. Your mind's more open. Your mind's more clear. And it's almost indescribable what a great feeling it is when you get that negative energy out of your body. And anybody can learn what the chakras are. You could go on Google right now and type in, and there'll be 500 pages of what your chakras are and how to clear them.
And YouTube.
And YouTube, oh God, yes. I mean,
YouTube's crazy.
Do not go out and pay these people that are Reiki masters to do something that you could learn for free. My Reiki master taught me for free. I have taught other people for free because it's something that shouldn't be charged for.
Right. Well, it's like charging for your paranormal services.
That's another one.
That's a big no-no.
And I'll tell you, this is honest God truth. You know the only payment I've ever taken for an investigation? We got paid. That's about as close to a payment as I've ever taken. And I'm not ever going to turn down no free food. So.
Heck no, I love the clients that are like, you know what, we'll feed you, we'll do, and oh my gosh, I love those kind of clients. So did you hear Deegan a while ago when we were talking about the chakras? He was asking about, does it, what was the question about the heart?
Well, if you have,
go ahead, Deegan.
If you have a heart condition, which I do, had a heart attack a year ago, and a lot of it was brought on stress.
Yes.
Would that help?
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, I've been having a lot of problems probably the last couple of months with my heart. It's usually when I'm laying down, fixing to go to sleep, it'll start hurting. I have to take an aspirin or whatever. Which I'm on aspirin anyways. But
yeah. Now, I can teach you and Sherry how to do Reiki in about 5 minutes. It's so easy. But before you can start to do Reiki, you need to cleanse yourself first. You need to get that negative energy out of your body and flow positive energy into it. And it's
Gotcha.
And just look, just any website that'll tell you about your chakras. Use your pendulum. Start at the top of your head. Then go to your forehead, which is your third eye. Then go to your heart, right over the heart. Then go to the stomach. And there's another one in the groin area you don't have to go to, but then go to the knees and the feet. But you can go past and cleanse those as well. and the back. When you do the stomach, you can do the stomach and the back at the same time. You just put one hand in front of the stomach, one hand in front of the back, and let the energy flow through you, through the body, out through you. And then once you open yourself up and get cleansed, you yourself can do Reiki. And it is so simple. And these people that charge folks for it make it seem like you got to be Einstein to do it. I'm sorry. No, you don't. You just...
It's just a matter of opening up enough to pay attention and learn it.
And one of the cool things you can do, too, you can tell somebody that's a natural healer, take a pendulum and hold it over their hands. And the bigger the circle gets, and you can ask Kim, I haven't done it in a while, but I'll put it over my hand, and that thing will start just making like huge circles.
Oh, wow. So you know they're a natural healer.
Yeah. But
so do we
go ahead.
Do we need to worry about doing anything to cleanse our pendulum or our crystal before we do any of that? Because I've seen that you need to like charge them and cleanse them, that type of thing.
Let me tell you the best way to cleanse your stones. It doesn't matter if it's moonlight, sunlight, if it's cloudy, if it's raining, if it's snow. Take your crystals and your stones, stick them outside for a 24-hour period. If you stick them in at 5 o'clock at night, pick them back up the next night at 5 o'clock. Let them sit a full 24 hours outside. What happens is all that energy that those crystals and stones absorb, because they absorb a lot of negative energy. Once they get back outside, get close to Mother Earth again, they go back, the air takes the negative energy, puts it in the ground for them, and flows the stones back new energy. And after your 24-hour period of them being outside, put them back in your hands where that stone can get your energy back.
Gotcha. Do we need to do that when we first get them from the store? Like when we go out to the metaphysical shop, do we need to worry about doing that to kind of get them open up to us? Or is that not a concern at that point?
Oh, yeah. You can do that. And I put mine out about twice a week, whether I need to or not.
Okay.
But yeah, your stones, it's funny because once you actually get the feel of the energy coming out of these crystals and stones, you'll go, oh, that is freaking awesome.
Yeah. And I've heard people that use it. I'm just like, it's unbelievable. And I'm surprised being into it for years. I hadn't heard of it until just recently, this pendulum.
Yeah.
Oh, we got another question for you. Go ahead and type it. I got another question for you coming up in the chat room.
Oh, awesome.
No, I'm glad. I didn't even know you knew so much about crystals. I would have been bending your like weeks
you
ago.
guys can't. I'd never go anywhere without crystals on me.
I'm excited now to go out and get our stuff. Well, and I know, Crystal carries what's called a medicine bag that's got all of her stuff in it, and that's the first I'd ever heard of that too. So I'm kind of like, okay, this is a whole new world for me. I'm loving it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have medicine bags, and I keep some stones in medicine bags. I've never had to. I've always had people make them for me and give them to me.
Interesting. Okay, here's our question.
Sure.
You said that we should listen to the voices in our heads. What is your position on our dreams? Is that just our subconscious, or is that something we should pay close attention to as well?
Pay very close attention to your dreams. I actually tell people, and I know Kim started doing it, keep a dream log. If what you can remember of your dreams, as soon as you wake up, have like a pad and paper next to you. Write down what you can remember from that dream. And a lot of times you'll come back and go, holy crap, that's what that meant. But
and you'll notice patterns too in your dreams, and that can lead to lucid dreaming, which is a favorite of mine. Because once you start into the world of lucid dreaming, your mind is awake but your body's asleep. So you can interact with the dream world, and you can ask, that person that you see, what do you represent? And they'll have this, sometimes this really meaningful something, to tell you. So it's really awesome. I love lucid dreaming, and anytime I have an opportunity to do that, it's been wonderful.
Now, have you found that anything in your dreams have actually helped you on an investigation? Like, do you think, okay, I've got this investigation scheduled for this weekend, that you have any dreams leading up to it that have helped you on the investigation?
Blaine has. I haven't yet, but I know Blaine has. You want to tell that story?
Yeah. I'm also actually able to astral project very well. And our Secret Scroll camp out, the night before we went there, I ended up at the farm the night before we actually went. And I ended up on the place where we ended up camping that night, because it was the same place I saw. And it was funny because I didn't say anything to anybody there. I told Kim later after she got there, I said, I was here last night, and this is the place we were supposed to camp, and this is where we stopped, and everybody. And I didn't say a word about it. I said, oh, this is the perfect place. And so, yeah, it does help.
Yeah, and astral projection is one of the reasons why I got into paranormal investigating. I started having it happen to me just spontaneously about a year and a half ago, and I had no idea what it was. I didn't know what was happening to me. I thought, am I going crazy? So that's when I started doing, delving into all this research and learning more about it. And, my husband didn't want to hear the first thing about it, because his first wife was actually paranoid schizophrenic, like for real. And so when I started telling him about this experience, so he didn't want to hear anything about it. So that's when I started searching for some friends that wouldn't mind, talking about it and hearing my stories. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. All right, Eric, how am I doing on time? I see we're kind of going over a little bit.
Yeah, we kind of need to cut it so it'll fit.
Yeah, I kind of figured. All right, so Blaine and Kim, tell everybody how they can get a hold to you guys over at Scare.
Well, we're on Facebook. It's Spirit Communications and Research. You can also get in touch with us via email, which is scareofal@gmail.com.
You guys on Facebook, website?
We don't have a website yet. We're still working on that. So pretty much just Facebook and our email account. So
yeah, well, pretty much anything you want to do.
And if anybody's looking for them on, do what?
I said, and pretty much anything you could have done on the website, we can put on our Facebook page for free. So
your Facebook. Yeah.
We are on Twitter
and
too.
What I was going to tell everybody is, what's your Twitter?
It's a Scare of Alabama, but it's like Scare of AL. So
I gotcha. Well, and if anybody's looking for them on Facebook, if you go to the DNS Paranormal Crew page, I actually posted a link to y'all's page on our team page so that they can find you guys there at Scare. Thank you guys so much. Blaine, you and I are going to catch up some more about crystals as soon as we go to the store. And Kim, you find me on Facebook so we can keep in touch. I want to hear about dowsing rods when you guys go up to your little adventure there. I'm just going to wrap up with a couple of things. You guys check out PIN. We have a store out there now. We can go shop for some swag, and I need to go out there and look and see what we've got. But you can go out there to paraencountersnetwork.com and check out the store. I will be making a return to Sunday night this week, and I will be joining my Parafreak co-hosting Torching Topics. So you guys make sure you tune in Sunday night at 7. We're going to be talking to the guys at Paravisions who were just on DNS Live last week before. So we'll have a bit of that. We've got some changes coming up to some of the schedules, and I'm just going to leave it at that because we'll be making some announcements later about an addition coming to PIN that I know about. And other than that, we've got a little bit of a break next week. We'll be replaying this show next week. while Eric Kim head out to Lower Catskills, so you guys be paying attention and watching for that. Can't wait to hear how that's going to go. Are there still vendor booths available? You guys got anything else going for Catskills, Eric Kim?
Just a few tables left. I think we have one with electricity.
Okay, so if you guys are interested, find them on Facebook and reach out and let them know that you're interested in it. Other than that, Blaine and Kim, I'm going to say thank you to you guys. We'll be in touch, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for having us.